So imagine a king, someone with absolute power and wealth, stepping off his throne and declaring with just, complete serene confidence that he is entirely detached from the world and that his realization of pure consciousness has brought him absolute effortless joy. That is exactly what King Janaka does here. His words reveal a steady awareness, just a profound joy in abiding as the self. And before we dive into how you can actually embody this, if you want to keep exploring the depths of ancient wisdom with us, take a second to subscribe, like this deep dive, and share your own reflections in the comments below. Welcome, everyone, to our deep dive into the Ashtavakra Samhita.
Thank you. It's really great to be here to unpack this. We're going to be focusing heavily on chapter 16 today, which is essentially the disciples' realization, and it is just a phenomenal text.
It really is. And just to set the stage, our mission today is to explore this realization not as some dry intellectual theory, but as a living, breathing experience. Chapter 16 continues the disciple's voice, King Janaka, showing how his realization has, it's matured into this unwavering freedom.
Right. It's not a fleeting insight anymore. Janaka is expressing this profound peace, and he's affirming that the self is totally beyond all dualities. The emphasis here is on the lived experience of liberation.
Yeah, the lived experience, because it's one thing to have an intellectual aha moment, right? But it's another to actually embody it. So let's briefly touch on how we got to this incredible moment. We have to remember the context of Ashtavakra, this 12-year-old boy.
Yes, the eight-curved sage. Cursed before birth to have 8 severe physical deformities because he corrected his father's Vedic chanting from the womb.
Which is just wild to think about. His father, Kahor, gets insulted, curses him, and then later loses a debate at Janaka's court and gets thrown into the sea.
Exactly. And then 12-year-old Ashtavakra walks into that same court, physically twisted, totally dismissed by the guards, but he ends up defeating the foremost scholar, rescuing his father, and unraveling the ultimate nature of reality right in front of the king.
And his core teaching is just so disruptive. It's the foundation of monistic Vedanta, asserting that the self alone is real and everything else, the body, the mind, the world, is just an appearance.
I mean, Ashtavakra's own body is the perfect metaphor for this. His deformed body stands in stark contrast to the perfect, formless, pure self he teaches about.
Yeah.
It is a literal walking representation that you are not your body.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because naturally there's some pushback here. If we are already this perfect, unbound self, why do we feel so incredibly stressed? Why do we feel trapped?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The text uses this brilliant analogy of a gold chain.
Oh, I love the gold chain analogy.
It's so relatable. Imagine someone wearing a valuable gold chain around their neck, but they completely forget it's there.
They're tearing their house apart looking for it.
Exactly. Tearing the place apart, getting anxious, experiencing very real psychological misery over this lost chain. And they search everywhere until someone simply points to their neck.
Right, and the suffering just vanishes. Poof.
Yeah.
Because they didn't gain anything new, they just recognized what they already had.
The economy of their wealth didn't change, just their awareness. And that brings us directly to King Janaka in chapter 16, because he has finally found the gold chain on his own neck.
He really has. Janaka declares that he is pure consciousness, completely untouched by his body, his mind, or any worldly experiences.
And he does this with such certainty. He affirms his absolute freedom from sorrow, from desire, and from bondage.
It's like taking off a VR headset. Here's where it gets really interesting to me. We walk around in daily life like we're playing this deeply immersive virtual reality game.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. You're in the game, a virtual dragon attacks you, and you literally physically duck. Your heart rate spikes, you are terrified.
Even though you are completely safe sitting on your couch.
Exactly. The body and the mind are the VR headset. Janaka is basically saying, I realize I am the guy on the couch. I am not the avatar in the game taking damage.
Yes, the mind is just a rendering engine, processing inputs. But Janaka has shifted his identification from the avatar to the consciousness observing the screen.
And the relief of that, he says his realization brings this effortless joy and balance, completely unshaken by circumstances.
Because if you know you're the one on the couch, the dragon in the game can't actually burn you. The disciples' words here confirm that liberation is steady, it is enduring.
It's not a temporary high. It's not about forcing yourself to feel happy. It's about dropping the act entirely.
Which is such an important distinction. In the earlier chapters, Ashtavakra warned against the trap of spiritual effort.
Oh yeah, the idea of trying too hard. Because if you are trying to be free, you are constantly reinforcing the idea that you are bound.
Precisely. It is the ego sneaking through the back door. The ego says, well, okay, I won't chase money anymore. I'll chase enlightenment instead.
I'll optimize my meditation routine. I'll track my mindful minutes on my smartwatch.
Yes, turning liberation into just another self-improvement project. But Janaka sees through this. He gives up both renunciation and acceptance.
It's like trying to force yourself to fall asleep. We've all been there, right? You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, I have to sleep, I have a big meeting tomorrow.
And the harder you try, the more awake you get.
Your brain is treating the failure to sleep as a threat, so it pumps you full of cortisol. The only way to actually fall asleep is to completely let go of the effort to sleep.
And that is exactly what Janaka does in Chapter 16. He lets go of the effort. He declares freedom from the snare of desire and duality.
Let's talk about that snare, because the text is really uncompromising here. It says, desire alone is the world.
Yes, bondage is explicitly defined as when the mind desires or grieves at anything, rejects or accepts anything.
Which, initially sounds a bit intense. Does this mean we become emotionless robots? If I don't reject the bad or accept the good, isn't that just apathy?
It's a common misconception, but it's not apathy at all. Apathy is actually a form of suppression. It's the mind shutting down because it can't handle the friction.
Right, it's defensive.
Exactly. What Janaka is experiencing is transcendent peace. When the text says you are everything, from the creator down to a clump of grass, well, when you realize you are everything, what is left to desire?
You can't covet something if it's already you. You can't be afraid of losing something if you are the space in which all things exist.
Which ties back to Ashtavakra's metaphor of the space and the jar from the first chapter.
The idea that the phenomenal world is like a clay jar, but you are the boundless space inside and outside of it.
Right. A jar doesn't create the space inside it, and it doesn't permanently separate that space from the rest of the universe.
And when the jar breaks, the space isn't damaged, it doesn't bleed, it's just space. Janaka is affirming that he is the space.
And that brings us to a great listening prompt for everyone tuning in. Think about a moment recently when you felt deep sorrow or burning desire for something.
Just really picture that moment.
Now, notice how Janaka declares freedom from those exact feelings, not by fixing the external situation, but by detaching his identity from the mind that wants things.
He's not fixing the jar, he's just remembering he's the space, which brings such a profound psychological relief.
It really does, especially when we look at Chapter 16's special instruction about the end of done and not done.
Oh, this is my favorite part, the mental backpack we all carry around.
Ashtavakra tells him that the mind only becomes indifferent to worldly things, and even to liberation itself, when it is free from the pairs of opposites, specifically the thoughts, this is done and this is not done.
I think about the Zeigarnik effect in psychology here. You know how the brain remembers uncompleted tasks way better than completed ones?
It creates a baseline level of cognitive tension.
Exactly. Our identity gets completely wrapped up in this ledger, a ledger of past regrets, the things we should have done and future anxieties, the things we still need to do.
And as long as you are staring at that ledger, you are not in the present moment. You are trapped in psychological time.
It's exhausting. We just carry this heavy backpack everywhere. Janaka's realization is essentially him just taking the backpack off and leaving it on the floor.
He realizes that the self is already free, so there is literally nothing that needs to be accomplished to attain it.
It's so radical. Ashtavakra even tells him to become indifferent to liberation.
Because desiring liberation implies you aren't already free. It places freedom in the future.
It's another not done task on the ledger.
Exactly. And Janaka's affirmation in this chapter shows he gets it. His joy in abiding his pure consciousness is palpable.
So here's another prompt for you as you're listening. Notice that heavy mental backpack you're carrying right now. I need to do this and I shouldn't have done that.
Just observe it.
What happens if you drop it, just mentally put it down for 5 seconds? Who are you without your to-do list and your regrets?
You are just pure awareness, untouched.
And that brings us to what this actually looks like in practice. Because dropping the ledger doesn't mean you just sit in a cave and stare at a wall, right?
Not at all. The text outlines the life of the liberated one, the Jivanmukta, someone who is liberated while still living in the body.
They are fully engaged, they live happily, seeing, hearing, touching, eating.
But their mind is absorbed. They participate in the senses without being enslaved by them.
Which means they can enjoy the VR game without having a panic attack when the dragon shows up.
Yes. They neither slander, nor praise, rejoice, nor get angry. The text says, glorious is the wise one who is devoid of mindness, to whom earth, stone, or gold is the same.
That line is so powerful. To whom earth, stone, or gold is the same. Because if you look at it through the lens of, say, the economy, gold, and dirt are vastly different.
One buys status and security, the other is just dirt.
Right. But to pure consciousness, to the underlying reality, they are just temporary arrangements of atoms.
The ego attaches to the goal because it thinks it needs it to survive in the simulation.
It's like Monopoly money. When you're playing Monopoly, that orange $500 bill feels really important. You'll argue with your family over it.
People get very heated over Monopoly.
They really do. But at the end of the game, it all goes back in the box. And you don't cry when the Monopoly money goes back in the box because you know it's not real wealth.
That is exactly how Janaka views the world now. He can play the game, he can rule his kingdom, but he knows the gold is just Monopoly money.
He is devoid of mindness. He doesn't claim ownership over the pieces on the board.
And the modern resonance of this is huge. Realization is not about escaping your life or your responsibilities.
Yeah, you don't have to quit your job and move to the woods.
Right. It's a steady awareness that completely transforms how you experience daily life. You do your work, you love your family, but without the desperate grasping and fear of loss.
Because the fear comes from the false belief that you're the body and mind. Janaka explicitly affirms his detachment from them.
He says, I am pure consciousness. The body and the mind have their own nature, their own functions, but they are not me.
So, as a third prompt to our listeners, think about your own body and mind for a moment. We spend so much time optimizing our bodies, trying to fix our thoughts.
Constantly tweaking the avatar.
Exactly. What if, just for a moment, you let the avatar be exactly as it is, flawed, tired, whatever, and you just rest in the awareness that is watching it?
That is the essence of Chapter 16. That is the lived realization.
It's a total collapse of the seeker, the seeking, and the sought. Everything just collapses into pure being.
The text asks, what is Scripture? What is self-knowledge? What is liberation or bondage? To me, who am ever immutable and indivisible.
When you really hear that, it just stops the mind in its tracks.
Because there is nowhere left for the mind to go. It can't hide behind Scripture anymore.
It can't hide behind the pursuit of self-knowledge. Janaka has burned the map because he is finally standing in the territory.
And the territory is incredibly peaceful. It is unshakable.
Which brings us back to our starting point. This entire journey we've been on today, realization isn't just an intellectual aha moment.
No, it's not a trivia fact you memorize.
It is complete only when freedom is steady, effortless, and lived in daily life. It transforms how we interact with every sight, every sound, and every desire.
If bondage is merely the mind's habit of grasping and rejecting, and you are already the infinite space containing it all, well, think about the implications of that.
It changes everything.
It means there's absolutely nothing you actually need to change about yourself to be perfectly at peace today. The only thing in your way is your own belief that you aren't already there.
You are already wearing the gold chain. You just have to reach up and touch it.
Exactly. You are already the boundless space. You don't need to fix the jar.
Such a profound place to leave it today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what stood out to you from Janaka's realization. And if you are ready to keep going, we highly suggest continuing with Chapter 17 to explore the self as pure bliss. We will see you on the next deep dive.